The district wrote parents, if you are taken to dependency court, the result may be your child being removed from your home and placed in foster care.
That was a threat that was sent to students and their parents in one Pennsylvania school district. And this led to a media firestorm, and now they're backpedaling a little bit. But the school district is Wyoming Valley West School District, and they were concerned about unpaid lunch fees. And so they sent these threatening letters to parents saying, if you're not gonna pay these fees, you might be in a lot of trouble, and your children might literally be taken away from you as a result of this. It's gross. I want to go to graphic 2 and read a quick excerpt from this letter. Your child has been sent to school every day without money and without breakfast and or lunch. This is a failure to provide your child with proper nutrition, and you can be sent to a dependency court for neglecting your child's right to food. I mean, you could argue that the people who are trying to neglect a child's right to food are members of the school district. Like, I get it, this costs money, but have you ever considered that maybe it's not neglect, it's lack of resources, inability to pay for food? So the punitive measures are gross and they make no sense. And this is, remember, right on the heels of the Trump administration attempting to kick 3 million Americans off of the food stamp program.
Yeah.
So before I open it up to the panel, I want to go to a longer NBC News story on this to give you some more details, and then I want to discuss.
The threatening letter was sent to parents at the Wyoming Valley West School District in Pennsylvania, trying to collect $22,000 owed by roughly 1,000 students. The district wrote parents, if you are taken to dependency court, the result may be your child being removed from your home and placed in foster care.
It's bordering on criminal, if you ask me, for them to pull that on families.
Sparking outrage, critics call the letter lunch shaming, but the cash-strapped district says it needs the money.
It might be a bit too heavy for some people. No one wants to take their kids away from them or to advocate that, but we were not getting a response.
So this is a perfect example of the Hunger Games scenario that Americans are placed in, because it is a cash-strapped district. And when you are cash-strapped, then what do? I mean, you see Americans every day fighting one another, people who are not in positions of power fighting one another, as opposed to fighting a system that underfunds or defunds them on a regular basis. That's what the public school systems are like here in the US right now.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of
Go ahead.
No, I just feel like there's a lot in between being cash-strapped and threatening to put kids in foster care over $75, as you saw in that one letter. I feel like there was something in between.
What do you think it is?
I don't know it, but it's definitely never threatening a parent, putting a kid in foster care. And JR and I were talking about this morning on the damage report, but that even when kids are enrolled in the free lunch program, it's embarrassing, it's a different food, it's it's punitive, it looks like, and for what your parents can afford. And I just think there should be more compassion. This is the 25th story we've seen this year of some school district doing something awful to a child. And what if your kid, reads the paper because the mom's at work and so the kid goes through the mail or something like that? Who knows? Like that's just a horrible thing to say to any parent, especially over $75. And there's got to be a different way to come up with this money. I get it. You have to pay for food. The food's not that great to begin with. And when people can't pay for it, when parents can't pay for it, it's usually because they're poor. And kids shouldn't be punished with threats of going to foster care, with threats of having their plate thrown away in the trash so that they can get a sack lunch or something else. It's not okay.
The psychological stress of, knowing that you are in a poor family that doesn't have the resources for the bare necessities of life. Like that's traumatic enough for a kid, and it's difficult to focus on your studies when you're dealing with that. But you're right. I mean, there's the added pressure and stress of reading something like that and knowing that, oh my God, I might be taken away from my parents because of their inability to pay for these lunches.
How come, can I say this, after the second or third time you see that the kids are not paying for their lunch, how come there's not a letter sent home to parents saying, hey, we've noticed that little Bobby hasn't had money for lunch 3 times in a row. We were wondering if maybe you qualify for this government program, for this free lunch program. We were wondering if maybe you do, and we have the form here in this packet. Fill it out, we'll see what we can do for you.
Well, it's actually worse than that. So I want to hear what you guys think about this. So when this story started, getting a lot of attention, there was a CEO who stepped in and said, "Oh, this is ridiculous. I'll pay for the unpaid fees." Colombe Coffee CEO Todd Carmichael said the Wyoming Valley West School Board's president on Monday told him no when he offered to give the district $22,000 to cover the outstanding debts. He wasn't given a reason as to why. And look, I know that this is a Band-Aid and you need a real fix, but why would you say no to that if you're really cash strapped and you're literally threatening parents and saying that you're gonna take their kids away if they don't pay for the fees?
One of the defining features of the American system, and you see it with this story, you see it with the previous story, is a unrelenting and all-out war on poor people. That is the default position of any any government system in the United States, any sort of the media ecosystem. It is an unrelenting war on poor people. That is the defining feature. Like, they force poor people to fight for the scraps.
Yes.
Right? I mean, it's like they, what is it, like 50% of Americans can't afford a $400 unexpected expense. The fact that they force kids in the first place to pay for lunch is an outrage. I mean, they should be for free for everyone. That's like a basic thing in most public school systems around the world. The fact that they force kids to pay for their own here just shows like how they're squeezing the education system more and more as time goes on, whether it's defunding teacher salaries or school lunches or arts programs or whatever. They're just turning these schools into these kind of dystopian places where kids are going hungry and they have to worry about getting shot and they have to do active school shooting drills and stuff like that. Like it's an absolute nightmare scenario. It's something that has a relatively easy fix. I mean, school lunch funding is not a huge expense, like in the grand scheme of things. In the grand scheme of things of the federal budget, it's a tiny percentage of the federal budget. It could be done tomorrow and no one would notice a difference, except for the people who actually rely on this kind of thing.
Well, we got to give the wealthy tax cuts.
Absolutely true. $1 trillion tax cut. It's good. It'll trickle down to the public
$2 trillion.
lunch. $2 trillion. I forgot. I always forget. I give or take $1 trillion. Who's gonna notice?
It's crazy. It really is, and we have to change the system. This is the reason why politicians who have a message of economic justice resonate. Because people want to do something about this. I mean, you see like the disparity between the rich and the poor. It's out of control. It's crazy. We shouldn't have a single person living on the streets in this country, yet we have a
500,000
explosive, or an explosion, I should say, of the homeless population. And then you have people who have like 28 homes, 28 mansions.
And every single person that letter passed through, as far as like approval, ideas, what should we put in it, every single one of them, they are not equipped to work at a school district. Thank God that this was higher up than teachers and principals and vice principals. Obviously it was, so they're not working day to day directly with children, but they are not equipped. Obviously, every single person that this passed through and that approved this, that had anything to do with this letter, they are not in a mental space to have anything to do with children.
Absolutely, the school district is now trying to walk back the letter, and the head of the school board is arguing that, this was a misstep and it shouldn't be put this way. No, you don't like the negative attention. Let's keep it real. And this was unnecessarily punitive and threatening toward parents. And I like that people are rising up and they're shaming the school district for doing what they did. This was unacceptable.
Thanks for watching this free clip of the Young Turks. Don't forget to become a TYT member today. For more exclusive content, join now at tyt.com/join.